Sony has been on a pretty massive winning streak over the last few years. The reliance on single-player games during the PS4 era marked a shift in the focus for the studio, which had previously been trying to compete with Xbox's lineup of very multiplayer-focused first-party games. The PS4 was home to countless acclaimed single-player games: Uncharted 4, Horizon Zero Dawn, God of War, Spider-Man. We can go on and on and on. Now, naturally, most of Sony's franchises have been continued with sequels or TV shows, like in the case of The Last of Us, but the publisher made a very interesting decision a while back. Welcome to the channel, everybody. Chaos here. Today, we are going to talk about the details that have leaked about a new Horizon MMO. If this ends up being true, this is going to be huge. Now, drop a like. Make sure you guys stick around for the entirety of the video because we have a lot to go over when it comes to the data dump and the leaks about this. If you guys are enjoying these gaming news videos, make sure you're subscribed. A few months ago, shortly after the PS5 launch of The Last of Us remake, it was reported by a number of industry insiders that Sony was working on a remake of Horizon Zero Dawn, as well as some kind of multiplayer experience set in that Horizon universe. Now, the internet mainly focused on the absolutely baffling decision to remake a game from the PS4 era. It is what it is. A lot of people skipped over the second bit of news on that day. Now, granted, the idea of a remake of a PS4 game does seem very, very silly right now, so I don't blame people for focusing on that, but the Horizon universe is ripe for expanding everything, and it seems that those reports were correct. The other day, we got more reports from rather reliable sources that there is a Horizon MMO currently in development at an extremely experienced studio. So you guys let me know in the comments if you would be interested in playing an MMO based on the Horizon Zero Dawn universe. I absolutely would, and let's go over the leaks that are fresh out of the oven. So according to a trusted Reset Era user known as Smitch, Sony is partnering with NCSoft, a Korean studio, to make a massive multiplayer online game based on the Horizon universe. For those that don't know, NCSoft previously worked on both Guild War games, although they weren't the lead developers, and they have extensive experience with the MMO genre, although they usually stick to PC games. The report from Smitch read like this: NCSoft is developing a new game utilizing the IP of Sony's flagship game franchise, Horizon. NC and Sony are promoting IP, which is intellectual property, collaboration to target the global gaming market, and the collaboration between the two companies is finally completed, which drawing attention to whether NC will succeed in targeting the global market by removing its focus on Lineage IP. Now, on the 8th, a source familiar with Sony and NC said, NC have tentatively agreed to promote a business partnership to create a new game using Sony's promising game IP. We're talking about Horizon here. NCSoft's internal development team is making it, he said. The source said after starting game development, discussions are underway in the form of pre-development and post-negotiation in which the two companies discuss collabs and business partnerships. Now, there is a possibility that it will lead to a comprehensive partnership such as development, he added. Now, Smitch also added that the team working on the game is the HC development team, and that this particular group of people, they previously worked on the Guild War franchise, like I said, rather closely. He says HC is known to have created a new project using the IP of the box office Guild Wars produced by ArenaNet, NC's North American Development Corporation. At that time, it was organized as one of the new development organizations under the name of GWC, but as the development of new projects using the Guild Wars IP stopped, it was then organized as the Lineage IP Business Headquarters. Now, the Lineage IP Business Headquarters is an organization composed of the Lineage PC game and the Lineage M and the Lineage W development teams. He is in charge of development and service of games using IPs of NCSoft's flagship franchise, Lineage. Now, the vice president, known as the Lineage Artisan, sounds like we're in a John Wick movie, is in charge of the headquarters. Now, we have all these people that are in charge of each kind of section. So overall, it seems like this is going to be a huge gamble since this team is somewhat inexperienced with international markets. But then again, Guild Wars is one of the biggest MMOs in the world, so they're qualified. So what does this mean for Sony and Horizon? Well, I think this leak has some pretty massive implications as to what Sony is going to do forward with their first-party games. You may have noticed that over the PS4's lifespan, Sony kind of walked away from the multiplayer-focused exclusives. That's part of the reason why Killzone and Resistance are basically dead in the water, but it's also the reason why Sony's exclusive games template has gotten a little more repetitive. I mean, think about it. When Sony announces a new first-party game, you know what to expect. A third-person action game with cinematic presentation, quick-time events, and usually some kind of stealth and or crafting mechanics involved. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with this template, and I'm definitely not saying they're all boring or repetitive, because obviously there have been some amazing Sony exclusives over the years that follow this. But Sony's getting a little predictable. That's part of the issue. The fight between the PS5 and the Xbox Series X consoles is closer than it actually seems, largely thanks to the budget that the Series S system has been far easier to get your hands on throughout the last couple years. Microsoft may not have the most acclaimed exclusives, but they have a lot more games available, and the variety in first-party titles is far greater than what Sony has to offer right now. Microsoft doesn't hyper-focus on any one genre for their first-party games, and while that may actually be detrimental to a degree, that doesn't mean Sony couldn't learn from them. In recent years, it's been revealed that Sony is starting to branch out their first-party IPs and are now trying to make things a little more varied. You guys remember that Predator multiplayer game that came out on the PlayStation and PC? Wasn't a great game or anything, but it was a sign that Sony was trying to shake things up. For the last few years, they basically walked away from all first-party multiplayer support, partially because of the success of their single-player games, but also partially because they've gotten so much mileage out of their Call of Duty exclusivity. Now that they no longer have that advantage with COD coming up, they need to draw multiplayer gamers to their side of things, and that's exactly what this is about. We know there's a Last of Us multiplayer game in development as we speak, so why not keep the train rolling with a Horizon-based multiplayer game? Now, the MMO part, I think it's brilliant. MMOs have never really been that big on consoles, but there's been a couple exceptions. Elder Scrolls Online, Final Fantasy XIV. In fact, FF14 has been doing very well on consoles, so I think Sony may be looking at this as their proof of concept for a Horizon MMO. Now, as for the gameplay, it lends itself well to an MMO formula, and I think that is the perfect genre for something like this. It wouldn't make sense to have a team-based PvP game or some kind of extraction-type game like Tarkov or DMZ set in the Horizon universe. I mean, I guess you could have some kind of survival game like Ark when it comes to making a multiplayer game, though. I don't think so. I think the MMO genre fits Horizon like a glove. With how diverse and expansive that lore can be, you could go crazy with the custom character creator. You could really lose yourself, explore the giant world, interact with new characters, flesh out certain parts of the two main game stories already. Despite MMOs not being the most popular on consoles, I think if Sony plays their cards right, they could be the trendsetters for this. Like I said, Final Fantasy and Elder Scrolls Online have been doing rather well on consoles. Use that momentum, mix it with the popularity of Sony's first-party IPs, boom! You have a winning formula, almost definitely, as long as they don't try to charge some kind of crazy subscription price. If the gameplay feels good on a controller and the mechanics aren't too oppressive to new MMO players, a Horizon MMO could be a smash hit, especially if it launches alongside a PC version and allows the core PC community, the MMO community specifically, to jump on board. Now, unfortunately, we have no idea when this game would come out. The leaks from the other day suggested that the deal was in its very early stages, so even by the most generous estimates, I would say 2024 at the earliest. By allowing more time for people to get their hands on a PS5, the game increases the possible player pool, plus an extra year or two. I mean, more console players gain confidence in the MMO genre. I mean, like I said, Final Fantasy XIV, ESO. MMOs on consoles is new a concept. A lot of games have failed, but maybe we see the reversal of that. By letting the trend continue, Sony and NCSoft can continue to watch and see what works and what doesn't. Plus, it gives more time for people to discover and fall in love with the Horizon universe. So here's my guess. Prediction time. I would say this game is coming out mid to late 2024 on the PS5 and PC. Given Sony's statements on multiplayer-focused games on the PC on day one, I think we could expect a simultaneous PC and PlayStation launch, which would be a huge advantage since most MMO players are on PC anyway. If the rumors are true, I think this could not only be one of the biggest MMOs in the world, but it would also send a very clear and definitive message to Microsoft that Sony isn't messing around anymore. Sony isn't just going to work on their single-player games. They're going to start dipping their toes into the multiplayer field. And that is where the console war is probably going to continue to get... I mean, it's going to get interesting. It always is interesting. And I know people say there is no console war. Well, that's not true. They are two companies vying for your valuable playing time and your valuable dollars and taking care of their stockholders. They are indeed at odds. Don't think for a second that they're not. So let me know what you guys think. Would you be excited to play a Horizon MMO? Something huge, expansive, deep. I mean, we're talking on another level. You guys let me know what you think. If anything new comes from this, enough warranted to make a video, I'll keep you guys in the loop. I hope you guys have a great day, and I'll see you soon.